Let's go!
How are you guys?
We're really good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm all right. I got a lot going on. My room is all kind of a mess right now because I'm getting ready to move to the other side of the country.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. Where are you moving?
Going to Maryland, actually.
Nice.
Never been there except for the airport, BMI. So
Yeah.
it'll be a whole new adventure, you know.
Are you going to go to
Yep.
like the beach area or?
I'm going to be about an hour away, kind of near the Pennsylvania border.
Yeah.
But close enough, you know, a lot closer than Vegas is to the coast. So
yeah,
looking
Go get
forward
some
to that.
pierogies.
Yeah. So recently, you guys put out a new EP, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about it. I have listened to some of it, not all of it yet, but I have heard some of it, and it sounded even a little heavier than the last EP.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I think the first one was us just trying to figure out like what the hell we were doing because we had just started, and that was like our original like let's put something together. I look at the first one as more of a demo, like okay, this is just us playing around. But now that we've kind of baked a little bit, it's like okay, what do we really want to do, you know? And Nick and I like heavy music. So I think you could hear that in that one, some of our heavy influences in that. And
yeah, we went to a lower tuning on this new album, so it's in drop A instead of drop C sharp. So
Yeah.
we kind of wanted to explore that type of stuff, 7-string type tuning.
But then also infuse it with some of the electronic stuff that we're known for and that we love.
Right.
Kind of threw in everything in the kitchen sink that kind of like, you know, it's like, what do we have? What do we know? And how can we make it all work together?
Sure.
And that's what that EP is. It's kind of like, this is all.
It's kind of like, hey, this is how we really sound.
Yeah. I think it's just the peeling off the layers of that, though. I think we can go even darker and heavier if we really wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the more we start exploring that, and we don't have anyone telling us what to do anymore now. That's another factor in this. So, you know, previously we were signed to a label. We had a lot of different managers and people coming in and out, and
everyone had an opinion.
Everybody had an opinion. Everybody had their idea of like what we should sound like or what we should do or shouldn't do, and we were kind of being pulled in a lot of directions. And I think that's kind of why the first EP was a little softer. And in the subsequent releases, we had some heavy and soft kind of going back and forth. But I think with this, it was just Nick and I. We didn't have any outside producer. We didn't have anyone. It was just literally he and I in a studio throwing it down and like no one telling us no. So we just went kind of nuts with it.
I mean, you can tell that it's a lot more confident sounding. Like you said, the first one kind of sounded like a demo.
Yeah.
But the new stuff, it sounds like you've been in a band for a long time and like you just like, this is who we are. So and you can tell that just by listening to it. So I think whatever you guys continue to do will definitely have that much more confidence to it. And
yeah, we already have a lot of ideas for a follow-up.
We're working on the second half right now in the studio, and it's definitely going to get weirder, darker, heavier. I think that now we can be ourselves more.
Yeah.
And we're not like playing a character role for someone else. I think that's when it starts to turn into something kind of cool, because it's always been cool, but I think it's like more, because one thing I've gotten from some fans is they said like, your vocals sound more confident, you sound more authentic, you know, and I think it's true. And I didn't even like realize it till people started mentioning it. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's right. Like we didn't have anyone with an outside opinion on this. So it was like, it's literally just us. And that's when it starts to get like, goes to areas that we didn't touch previously.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of cool to be able to do that.
It was fun to learn a lot about recording an album too, because I had to learn.
Well, you recorded Builders of the Future.
Well,
right?
I mean, produced the album.
Yeah, production.
Yeah. because we didn't have any producers in on this one. It was just all us.
Well, because previously we would work with someone that would bring like, we would have our riffs and things, but they would bring almost like a skeleton to us and say, okay, now build this. And so we always had some of a template and someone that we could bounce things off of, and it was like their interpretation as well. So it was only like pieces of us. So this was just like us.
Okay. So how was it producing? And did you do the mixing too, or did you just produced it and recorded it and everything?
I produced and recorded it. We had an outside mixer, but it was great. I had, because when you're recording with somebody else, they're constantly like kind of rushing you because time is money and they want to go have lunch or whatever, go do whatever they want to do. But so this time I could sit down and I could actually craft the guitar riffs for as long as I wanted.
And even with the vocals too, like if Nick didn't, like if I sang something a certain way, Nick was like, we could do that better. Like I had the ability to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was like what you did was what you did, and no matter how you did it, it was just like, all right, that's what you got. And I can go back and listen and pick apart those songs. And there's so much I would have changed if I had that time, right? Don't you think? Like, don't you ever hear that?
Oh yeah, there's a million things on the first album that we would have changed for sure. And that was just kind of finding ourselves anyway. But now that we have the ability to do it ourselves, we can spend as much time to make it exactly how we want.
And I think that's one of the downsides to being an artist in any kind of way. The time goes by and you look back and you go, what the hell was I doing? Or why did I do that? Or I wish I could fix that and erase this. And you can't do that. So you have to kind of be stuck with, and it puts it in a perspective too, like for the bands you love growing up, when maybe you go to their show and they don't play your favorite song and you're wondering why. And maybe they just like hate something about it that they haven't shared with anyone and they just don't want to do it because it makes them so annoyed. And I definitely can feel that. Like there's things that I would definitely never do again. Even vocally or like just like lyrically, production wise. There's even like songs I probably would have never released if I knew then what I know now. So I think that kind of is a downside of being an artist or a creative person.
It's almost like you have to, after like every 10 years, go and re-record the album.
Right.
So that all the stuff that you think about after you hear it for 10 years, you can actually put down how you want it.
Or like wait 10 years to release things because you can sit on it long enough. 10 years later, you might be like, no way, I would never release this. So, no, it's just kind of one of those things I think that happens that you're kind of at the mercy of.
It's weird because like I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I put out my first EP in 2013, a decade ago, and plenty of cringiness and lyrics, and I'm like, this is awful, but I'm still glad I did it anyway. It's like, well,
it's just part of the process. Send that to us because I want to check that out. But like, I get that, and the cringiness, and like also like, how you change as a person every like 10, 15 years, and you look back and you go, who the hell was that? Who was I?
What headspace was I in?
What was I thinking? I don't even remember like what I was thinking and what was up with me, And so that's the shitty part about being an artist is it's like a time capsule of all the cringy, stupid, annoying, whatever stuff that you look back and like no one else has that and you are like stuck with it forever. It's part of your brand and this is it. And so it's hard to deviate from that. And that's kind of difficult too to explain to like fans and stuff when you start changing. They're like, well, what happened with the purple hair? I started out with the purple hair.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's a few that still bug me about not having purple hair. And I'm like, it wasn't natural. It wasn't gonna stay that way forever. But
probably the same, like Trent Reznor probably hates the downward spiral.
I'm sure he does.
Sure he does. That's the thing though, is like how many artists going back to, like the Beatles and everything, like how many artists like their first album for a lot of people, like their first album is, that's the best one. Like Van Halen, for instance, or more modern, like Drowning Pool or something, it's like the first album is the best one, and then like everything they do after that no one cares about or whatever. And it's like, but then you talk to the band about it and they're like, it's okay, but like there's so many things we change about it. It's like, but that's
Yeah.
that's the one that everyone loves, you know. So it's like,
Oh man, I have to play Eruption again.
No, it's true because we've had people come to a show and be like, "You didn't play my favorite song," and I'm like, "Oh, you like that? Like, okay, well, I guess I'll add it to the." You know, it's kind of like, yeah, other people's perspective of you and your art is so different than what your own. So you kind of have to know how to balance that though, because if you go too far in your own head, you'll be so deviated from what those people see and think that it starts to become like, you're on two different islands and then it's too much of a barrier. So you kind of have to understand from their perspective. And as a music fan, I can see that, but also not like go too overboard.
Even like bringing an album to a record label, like you think that this song is the single, and then they pick a totally different song that you hate.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the song, and we're like, well, I don't think
what
so.
you view as the hit might not be the hit, and it's like, I mean, I think that's what it was like with this EP too. Like, well, for one thing, my favorite song on this EP changed so many times. It is currently my favorite song is Hyper Fantastic, but that could change again later. I don't know. I just love that song. And what's funny about that song is that was the last song we wrote, and it was like really fast.
Yeah, we spent probably the least amount of time on that one.
We kind of threw it together at the end.
Usually the best ones, the ones
Yep.
that you're like,
And then that's like
it's
my
just natural. Boom.
Yep, least amount of effort. And I think, sorry, our dog has hurt a motorcycle. We've been dealing with it. We were recording for our radio show last night, and he just would not stop, and it took us like forever to get it done because he would not stop barking.
Yorkie life.
I was like, come on.
I keep looking this way because my bulldog, he's on the floor and he's over there gagging and hacking, and I don't know what he's gagging at. He's just laying there, but he's choking.
That's what they do. They make noise and they disrupt, but they're so cute. You have to love them.
Absolutely.
So we try our best to work around these guys. And in fact, when we recorded that album or that EP, they were with us the whole time. For a lot of that, the dogs were sitting on my lap, and I was kind of juggling them and trying to sing. And there were so many takes we had to take, right?
Yeah, where the dog would growl in the middle of a perfect take, or
some of it might be even mixed into that. You never know, because sometimes Nick and I will do stuff like that. Well,
but if we don't have them on our laps, they'll go insane.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can't record at all. So
right. Yeah, we live in their world, not the other one. So
yeah, we're their pets.
Yeah, we're their pets for sure. We don't tell these guys what to do. They control us. So we're at the mercy.
Some people think that's just a cat thing, but it's like, no, the dogs too. The dogs roll.
I don't see the dog walking around carrying my poop in a bag.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. And our ferret as well. Like he used to be a free range ferret until we rescued our other dog, and then she tried to bite him once, so that didn't work anymore. So we have to do like time between the two. Like they have to, have like time out, time in, and there's some like very, very highly like moderated time between having them together, and it's just like a lot of work. So the ferret also requires us to do what he wants. And then the birds, which was Nick's idea. I always say this because it's the worst idea anyone's ever had.
Never get birds. Never have that idea.
These birds
birds are a mess.
They are worse than that. We've had them for almost 3 years, and they hate us. I can't even describe how much these birds. And we feed them. We take such good care of them. We talk to them. We try to. They're like, nah, I hate you. They hate us so bad. And the one bird hates us most, and will never not bite us. Like it's every single time. So
like, I'm giving you such a loving life. Why do you hate me?
Yeah. Because I'm a bird.
We're like, we give you all these treats and toys, and always picking out nice things and moving things around and trying to keep them happy, and they're just not. In fact, they hated each other, and the girl bird beat up the boy bird, and we had to separate them and put them in separate cages next to each other because they couldn't be together, and so they're just mean birds.
It's probably because of the names that we named them.
Well, yeah, it's Ann Wilkes and Paul Sheldon from Misery. It's supposed to be a joke, but it actually was real because she really did kick the shit out of him. So I don't know.
And she hobbled him too.
She did. She messed up his leg.
She almost ripped his leg off. Yeah.
So they are living up to their names. That was my mistake.
So aggressive.
Yeah. So they control us too.
Yeah, my grandma, she had a parakeet and a cockatoo when I was growing up, and just between those two birds, just shit everywhere, just
Oh yeah.
feathers and seeds and just dust.
And non-stop
And they
squawking.
just like no matter how much you clean it, it's just the next day.
It
It's like it
doesn't make
never
a
happened.
difference. Between that and the ferret cage, it's like I think that, you know, it'll be a long time before we have clean floors, and we're always vacuuming and cleaning it up, and we have a robot vacuum. It doesn't make a difference. It's still just nonstop. No small animals ever again.
Nope.
I love them, but wow, is it a lot of work. So yeah, so we have to deal with that while we're making things like music and art. So it's like cool. And
See that's a neat little fact, you know, like years later, 20 years from now, you go back and listen, and you're like, I remember when my puppies were right here in my lap, and
yep,
you know, it's like, what's that growl in the background? What is it?
Yep.
I think that you did mix in a little bit. Sometimes you'll throw in something.
Yeah, here and there.
We hear something that maybe no one else will ever know is in there, but it's something like a
You
dog.
just leave it.
Yeah, you leave it in, and it just kind of
It gives it character.
It blends into the mix, and no one knows.
Absolutely. It's like what is that little, like some kind of atmosphere in the background? What is that? It's like
Yeah.
just a little keyboard thing, you know. No big deal.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
We've done that before, and we have songs where we purposely mixed in like what is it? Was it bird noises?
Yeah, so in Stealing the Crown, we put crickets.
Crickets, yes.
Because one of my favorite bands has always been Typo Negative, and then when we met, it was hit too. So we both were like, whoa, we both love that band. So what was cool about that was I loved the incorporation of birds into that music because it was so dark,
Right.
and they had birds, and it's just like it made no sense, but I love it. So it was such a beautiful touch. So I thought we would pay an homage to Typo Negative. What could we do without copying their birds? And we ended up with crickets. So
close enough. No, that's cool because again, like obviously the best thing with music is that there are no rules, and if you make rules for music, then that's just annoying. You know,
I agree.
The rules are made to be broken.
Before I had like any kind of recording programs at all on my computer, and we're talking like 2004 or 2005, I'd use the little sound recorder on my desktop, and I'd take like scissors and just like make random noises and like scrapes and stuff, and make like some kind of weird industrial kind of thing, you know, and like somehow it would work, you know. And it's like I don't even have any instruments, but somehow I'm making some kind of noise, you know. So
and I think that's really cool, don't you? Like the idea of like someone being that creative that can.
I started on an old Tascam 4-track tape recorder.
Wow.
And my brother and I used to sit and do the same thing. We used to take all like recorders and all these weird instruments and play them through like a Boss delay pedal, and then mess with the delay time and all that, and make all these weird soundscapes and stuff. And that's kind of where I started with my recording journey.
You know what's really interesting about that? How cool it is, but that there's like this group of people. I don't know who they are particularly, but I've seen it going around online. But there's these people that are like very purist, and they're very against that stuff. And they're like, it's not just like they don't like anything that's not a basic instrument, and this includes like you know, modern technology. Like they don't like the idea of incorporating drum machines, anything programmed. They call it fake. I don't see that that's true because it still takes like skill, but I've seen that going around, and I don't like that because for one thing, I'm like really into science and technology. It's a big part of my life, and my you know, and like we've incorporated a lot of technology into our music, especially like even recently we made that video for Inner Metal. We used a little tiny bit of AI assistance with that. It was not as easy as just typing in words and having a video made. If it was that easy, that would have been wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
took
not
a long time.
A few more years, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if they ever get it to that would be great. But it's unfortunately AI is not as simple as it seems, and the way that it's built, it requires a lot of nuance, and it doesn't particularly care for following rules. So I don't know how long it'll take to get it there, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I wanted to give it a shot and use
It took several weeks
Yeah, it wasn't
to make
easy.
that video.
And we couldn't do it all on AI. That was like a portion of it, and then we had to do the rest on our own. And so it wasn't as simple as just typing in some words, and that's important to know about that, because I think some people had come to me and said, "Wow, you really have a lot of balls to put an AI video out when everyone's hating on it right now," which I didn't know people were hating on it. I was excited about it because I'm in the tech world and I'm in the science world. Like, that's what I do when I'm not doing music. So for me, I've been like super excited about it. And then I found out that people aren't, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, sorry, but
This is why you can't worry about what other people fucking think.
right, exactly.
Yep.
And I think that was my point. It was like, if you want to take scissors and make it an instrument, who gives a shit? Because someone will find fault with it. But if it sounds cool, who cares? And I think if we were able to dig into some of the old bands, we would find, if we could go in, like maybe be a fly on the wall, we'd see that they did a lot of cool shit too, but maybe they just didn't have any fun, So especially like the Beatles,
Yeah.
Real experimental.
Just with you saying that, I was thinking like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Like,
Yes.
I can only imagine the shit that they were doing while they were recording, and I'm not talking about their drug use. I'm talking about like looking around the room, be like, oh, what could we add in here? Like, what's something that we could, and just like tapping on stuff and like making it work. It's like, why not? Why not?
It was almost like ASMR before ASMR was a thing, like making noises into the, and it's like, I feel that anything can be an instrument. We're in this planet filled with all kinds of things. Why can't anything be an instrument? And so I come from the school of like, industrial is really cool. I love industrial. I love anything that utilizes like things in the world and makes it musical, including technology, robots. That stuff is, I think for me, like, just like a dream. And so I know those purists hate that, but I don't really care.
It's hard not to be fascinated by it. And if you're a purist with your music, whether it's like classical or just old school rock and roll, it's like there's plenty of that out there that still exists. Like, you don't have to hate that there's technology involved too.
Right. And you can do that, and you don't have to be mad at me because my bass player is a robot. Like, it's like
you can like all different kinds of genres.
Yeah, like you can
all at the same time.
I feel I'm the kind of person that it's like there's room for everything, so I don't need to like be mad that someone's doing something different. I don't feel threatened by that. So it's like, if you want to bang on a plastic bucket and call it a drum, awesome, let's do it. Like, it doesn't threaten me in any way. So I don't like that I've seen that out there, but hoping people become more receptive to technology and the modernism of it, because it is 2023. It's like, come on guys, this is the future here. It's like, we're here, and it's only going to get cooler, so let's use it for music.
Absolutely.
Mars predicted that in what, the 60s?
Yeah, he did.
He said that all music will incorporate some sort of a robotic instrument.
He did. And there was a lot of like philosophers that talked about stuff like that. And
you have to embrace it, because it's not going to go the other way.
Alan Watts, he was a philosopher.
We're too far ahead now, like
Alan Watts was a philosopher from like the 70s, 60s. I think he maybe died in the late 70s. He wrote like an entire book about this. He like predicted the internet, social media, all that stuff, and how society would change and everything. And so I think that everyone knew it was coming, so we should embrace it and make it work. I don't think AI and all this stuff is any different than like when cameras came out.
No. I would say that the only thing in recent years and coming years that's like scary would be like the deep fake stuff. Because like my first thought, like the first thing that was ever shown to me was a deep fake. It was like 2019. It was like Sylvester Stallone being the Terminator.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great. It looks awesome and it's funny, but at the same time, like my first thought was, this is going to be used for something.
Oh yeah,
like it was like
it's
the
already
first
being
thought.
used.
Oh yeah.
It's already
yeah,
being used.
and it's already happening now. You know, it's
Yeah.
You can't trust any video online now.
It's really funny because I will sometimes go on like Instagram or something and look, and I'll try to spot the fakes, and I'm pretty good at it because I have a little background in that stuff, but like I don't always know, and when I find out that like it's something I didn't know, I'm always freaked out by it because I'm like, whoa, that's really good, you know. That's important for like government to handle, maybe some regulation or something, I don't know, but the unfortunate problem with that is the government doesn't seem to come from like science and technology, so they don't really know anything. So it's like when that stuff happens, it's too late because they're like, "What's Google?"
well, yeah, especially when everyone in our government is, you know,
The nursing home.
50 to 85 years old. It's like,
It's
Yeah,
starting to drop now.
they're just learning. They're just learning about what email is, and we're already building like robots that like can have conversations. So like, there's definitely a dichotomy between like where we are, where they are, and if they don't regulate the deep fake stuff before it becomes, and it might already be too late.
it probably
It's gonna cause some issues.
In the next 5 years, they're all going to start dropping like flies, and hopefully they'll get replaced by some younger people.
I don't know. I just hope that it doesn't have like a poor effect on music, because my fear with that is if the deep fake stuff gets too bad to the point where there's so much misinformation and it's like all that they start shutting down and censoring. You know, they already censor a lot of stuff, but like I'm saying, like even worse than what it is, to the point where like you can't even listen to music because they're going to start like shutting things down because they don't know how to control this thing.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like they need to start regulating some stuff so that it doesn't get to that. And I'm not a huge fan of regulation, but for that I think it's kind of important.
Yeah,
It's very hard to tell.
there's definitely certain things that are going to need it or require it, and the AI stuff is definitely one of them. You know,
Yeah.
and I think it's ironic now thinking about it. Like I didn't think of it at the time, but like that my first deepfake video was, you know,
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone doing Terminator, and it's like, you know, Terminator is still such an important movie. You know, like the first two especially, and
yeah,
like, you know, that wasn't even that long ago. That's just, you know, just before we were born or in our lifetime, and like so much of it still just resonates. And
I think the movies gave us a lot of it's almost like the movies were like a guidebook for life and everyone ignored it.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
I feel like they kind of create the ideas and then the crazy people try to.
I don't think it's crazy people. I think it's the simulation of everything. It's the
Yeah,
matrix
could
of
be,
it.
yeah.
It's feeding back what we experience, and so it's like it kind of like almost like if movies were like a gift and art was a gift to like get through the world, and we kind of messed it up a little, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Because I'll look at I love old movies, and when I go back and look, I go, doesn't anyone see this? Oh my god, this is literally like this is a warning, and no one and no, it's all like no one hears it, and it's kind of scary, but one of the things that I saw recently, which is worth noting, is I saw it on YouTube. Have any of you guys listened to the AI music yet?
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
I've heard some of it.
Oh boy, I mean, it's gonna get to the point eventually, maybe in the next 10, 15 years, where it might be
Well, I mean, if you're listening to what's mainstream right now, you know, with all the like the trap and mumble rap and everything, and like all of the vocal filters and everything, like I mean, there's like nothing organic about it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, with AI and everything, and with like this simplistic lyrical content and everything, it's just gonna become that. It's like someone's just gonna sit there, like put down a beat and then just like pretty much like hit a button and everything's just gonna form, and it's like, oh, here's my new single. And
but the cool thing about that is it'll become oversaturated, and when that becomes oversaturated, they're gonna want real art again. This is like where Renaissance comes in, you know, like the dark ages of artistic creation is when everyone can do it, and it's just like becomes really like either heavily censored or
mundane.
Heavily censored, or mundane, and then you wait for like a rebirth or a renaissance, and then it's like, oh, everybody wants something real again, and then that's when like those of us who create will be able to.
With that saying that's well before our time, rock and roll will never die.
Yeah, it's true.
It's gonna come back around again. You know, it's just it has to.
It will, and that's the thing is it always does, and people get their new stuff and they have fun with it. It's because it's new, you know, it's a novelty. But then like the one thing is the backbone is always rock and roll. I feel it's like underneath it, just kind of waiting.
That rock and roll seems to come out of hard times. So when things get rough, then people get pissed and they start making rock music again.
Yeah,
So
it's like riot music.
yeah.
But they also, and I mean the they, big they, whoever they are, also try to oppress it because they don't want people having thoughts like that.
Yeah, too many artistic thoughts.
Artistic and resistant.
Right.
You know, rock music is resistance. Metal music is resistance. That's
Mhm.
like against the man.
We
And
are the
so,
resistance.
yep.
Yep.
And so they don't want you to hear that. So that's why a lot of that other stuff that you're talking about, like the inorganic, like, you know, types of things that are out, simplistic things are being pushed because it's like, you know, it's easy.
It's easy to not think,
Digestible.
to
It's like, oh, I don't have to think about this, and it's not making me want to get up and start a revolution.
Yeah.
You know, so makes sense.
So I'm going to switch gears here. I do have to give you a little warning. Zoom has a little time limit thing.
I see it.
Gotcha.
So when it happens, I think it takes like a minute or 10 minutes or something. We'll find out, and then we can continue. But until that time, let's hear your backstories. Let's hear, you know, how your journey with music came to be, and how you met and decided to go down the path that you're going on now.
Well, for me, I started out playing in a band with my brother at a young age. That kind of got me into playing music. He drummed, I played guitar, and I lived in a small town in North Dakota, so there wasn't much to do. So all we did was do local shows, and then I ended up moving to Minneapolis and joining the band American Head Charge.
You played with American Head Charge?
Yeah, I played with American Head Charge for a little while. That's how I first got into the industry.
Well, when were you with them?
I was with them in 2000. I want to say 2003, 2004, something like that.
Okay.
When it was around the time when we released the Can't Stop the Machine album. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went out on the European occupation tour over to Europe and the UK with them, and then after that the band kind of fell apart again, as they always do, and then they come back and do their thing. Then after that, I joined the Dreaming with Chris Hall from Stabbing Westward.
Yep.
And did some touring around with them, which led to Powerman 5000, which is where I think I met you, right?
Yep, that would be great. Well, I probably saw you with the Dreaming.
Okay.
Dude, just like I'm thinking of like the timeline and everything. Like, 'cause I saw the Dreaming 2 or 3 times. I know I saw them at the Whiskey a couple times for sure.
Oh yeah, we did the Whiskey a few times while I was in the band. So yeah, then I was in Powerman. I toured around, tried to build up some stuff for myself.
Yeah, and then we met.
Then we met
in 2016.
2016, yeah.
And my background is I was born into music. My grandfather was a bluegrass musician who played with like Roy Rogers, and he played quite a bit of Southern bluegrass. And then my father was a blues guitarist and musician, and so of course when I was born I wanted a guitar. I got one when I was 10, but I didn't start really trying to play it till I was 12. I had some, you know, lessons and all that, and my dad taught me a bunch of stuff. And I played in a punk band when I was a teenager. I was in a bunch of different hardcore and punk bands growing up. That was like my focus for a long time. And then I started switching gears, and I actually got into the EDM scene. I really like dubstep and like the bass stuff. I don't know, I just really like I was really getting into that, and kind of incorporating synthesizers into my music, moving, like evolving, and then I got some opportunities through that and moved to Los Angeles, and so then Nick and I was in a metal band out there called Caveat, and we re-released a bunch of like underground, it was like really heavy stuff, and then Nick and I got together, and Nick is actually pushing me to write music. I was kind of ready to take a break, and he was like, come on, come on, come on, and I was like, okay, we'll write a song.
So we wrote Dark Cloud.
Yeah, and it was released on, it was like premiered on Revolver, which was like, whoa. And
that was like a whirlwind.
It was fast.
We wrote the song in like maybe 2 days, and then we got
we got the
producer.
Yeah,
we got a producer, and he took like a week or so to finish everything, and then within like another week it was on Revolver.
It was on Revolver. They premiered it, and then after that we were offered a spot on Dave Ellefson from Megadeth's label. Okay. So they signed us. We were signed out the door. It was like quick. A month. Yeah. And we were like, boom, out there, and then on a tour. And I was just like, what the heck? I went from like not sure if I wanted to write yet at that point, because I was really still into music. I was just had a lot going on. I had a lot of offers too. Like at the time, I was being offered to sing in the all girls band with Nita Strauss. So I was working with her. I ended up not doing that for Hail Sagan, which I was advised by my entertainment attorney not to do. I'm glad that I did it because I wanted to do my own thing anyway, but I just didn't, I had a lot of stuff going on at the time. Yeah. And so I'm glad that I went with this, but it was to push me into it. And then it was like, it went from just to be a song to all of a sudden we're signed and we're on tour. And
we're programming like, light shows and making everything happen.
And we were on tour for like 2.5 years. And the last tour we did was like 2 months straight. And I think that burnt me out like really bad. That was a bad idea, doing a 2-month long tour. I would never suggest that to anyone. And if you have done it, it's, you know, how crazy it is. But we didn't have a lot of material. We were touring on like 5-6 songs and a cover song or something. So we decided to kind of hunker down and start writing material, because that's something that we needed. We were going off that like initial EP demo, and it was just like, I just didn't feel it was enough. And it wasn't like really indicative of like, you know, who we were and what we, like we said earlier. So I think we're in the, you know, kind of hermit stage right now, where we're in the studio and we're trying to make as much material as we can so we can have a discography. Mm-hmm. And then we'll talk about touring again in the future, because it's just not, well, yeah. I mean, right now it's a terrible time to tour, if you want my opinion.
Yeah, we've been kind of waiting out the
stuff in the world
and seeing what
if it ever goes back to normal.
Yeah, maybe they could bring gas down a couple dollars.
Of hotels and food and all that, you know.
Freaking gas is ridiculous.
It's hard.
I know for a fact, based on, and we did really well on our last tours. Like we did really well for our guarantees. We've never done a buy-on, by the way. Like when we went out with Mushroom Head, we got paid, and we've always, like, we never sold tickets. Like we've always been paid, and we always had guarantees, and they were really good. And even then, it was very hard to come back with anything because it's so expensive. And that was back when things were cheap. So as of right now, my perspective is anyone who's touring right now that isn't a millionaire is losing their ass out there, right. And they're doing it just for fun, because there's no way they're making any money. Mm-hmm. There's no way.
But maybe after we get this next half of our album finished, we might decide to go out. So
we got to see what the climate is like out there with, in terms of pricing, and also like it's been a while, so I don't know what's going on with venues. You know, I don't know what, we'd have to revisit all that again and figure it all out. So. Right. You know, I think right now the focus is just writing music.
Write music, make videos.
Yeah, because we barely had anything on our YouTube. We had like 3 videos, so we're like trying to slowly build up our YouTube, because we didn't really have a lot on there. And you know, we did just hit 1 million views, so that was really cool for us.
Hell yeah! Congratulations!
Yeah. Overall, 1 million. So you know, I thought that was a kind of cool thing. And
you hit a 1 million views on YouTube.
So our YouTube only had a few videos, and it was just like, that's what it was. And we never really like did much with it. We just kind of threw them up there, and I don't know, it just was out there, and it got 1 million views. A lot of that came from our song Doors Will Open was in a video game. So a lot of people on there,
Yeah.
they'll find us and go, found
Got
this.
that video game love.
They say, found this. I'm here because of Wreckfest, and it's like a real popular like demolition derby game, and it's really cool. So we got a lot of love from that, and so yeah, it hit 1 million. The whole thing hit 1 million views recently, and so I was like, well, we should be putting up more videos because we don't really have a lot up there. So we've been trying to do lyric videos. Lyric videos don't require as much theatrical stuff, so it's a little easier to do, you know. So we've been kind of throwing those up and just getting them so that we can kind of expand that YouTube. And I don't know, we never really focused on anything. I just started learning more about Spotify. Like I had no idea about any of this stuff, so I'm just trying to like do it now. And I had no idea like how to do any of it or what it was. And when you don't have a label doing it, you kind of it just gets, I guess, ignored. So
yeah, you kind of have to figure out what you want to do and then compartmentalize it so you can learn each piece.
It's so many pieces. There's so many.
It's like a Rubik's cube.
Because there's so many platforms and there's so much stuff and none of them do the same things and they all have different rules. And then when you get kind of figured out, they change it. So much change all the time, and it's just like, ugh. So I'm still figuring out YouTube. I'm trying to make time for that, and then Spotify is another thing I'm crawling into. But then we decided to throw ourselves into something new, just as if we didn't have enough things happening. We are doing a radio show now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell everyone about that.
So it's called Obscure Oasis. It's on Gun Music Radio. They just switched platforms, so now they're on a better platform. So it'll be every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 p.m. Eastern. It's basically Nick and I just talking about UFOs, weird shit that we see, experiences we have, movies that we like, and we play music. So
we play all the music that we like.
Yeah, or stuff that people request.
Yeah, people can email us in requests.
Or if they have, like, if you have a song and if it fits our theme, and our theme is pretty much like, so far it's been just like weird punk rock, metal, industrial, a lot of gothy, like synth pop, you know, post punk kind of stuff, and we just talk about like what's going on with like ufology and like the kind of cool stuff that happens in the desert, and like, you know, weird. It's like weird shit that we've experienced, and like stuff like I read about because I keep up with all that stuff. In fact, our EP Disclosure, which I don't know if everyone caught on to what that means, but that's part of that. Like the whole entire EP is about that stuff. It's a mix between like the consciousness, quantum physics stuff, and like ufology and that kind of stuff. And but I guess with music it's a little more up to interpretation, but with the radio show it's us actually sitting there bullshitting and just talking about it like directly. And I don't know, it's like an hour of us just having fun.
That's the most important thing of all.
Yeah, it's cool. And
well, it's nice to be able to just have fun and then have like a different radio channel handle like all the logistics of it.
We don't have to do any of the platform stuff. We just send them the show that we record and then they handle it. So that's been kind of cool.
It's been a fun outlet that way.
Yeah, because we don't have to learn anything. We can just do it. And so we talk about music, we talk about movies. I'm a DVD collector. Nick has now become de facto through me a DVD collector, and I love old movies, especially like occult, horror, like anything really weird, obscure. Like I love it. So we've been doing like little reviews of some of the odd movies that
we've been deep diving into some old horror
or stuff that we find
cool movies
along the way that we haven't heard of, and we'll check it out, and if we like it we'll review it. So
when it comes to like horror movies, like it's been so disappointing, like post 2000, you know, like
so horrible
when CGI started getting into it. And it's just like, I mean, there's a few like okay movies and stuff, but like it just completely lost its charm, you know. Like
it has,
the reason why like everything in the 70s and 80s is what everyone looks to, because that's how you do it.
even the 60s had like some fantastic titles, and it's like, you know, this new stuff I think is a one of the issues with it is these like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime doing their own things and not putting in the proper budget.
Yeah.
So they just kind of throw stuff together. The actors are subpar, and the writing is, I mean, I don't know who's writing this stuff, and I just go, what the hell? So I think that's part of the problem. And the other issue is I don't like gatekeeping. I think that sucks, especially in music, and we're still in the metal world dealing with that. These gatekeepers that haven't died yet are just standing there going, "No, fuck you."
I feel like it's getting worse, honestly.
Yeah,
oh yeah, way worse.
There's just like these dudes that stand there and just go, but their middle fingers up in the air, and I don't know what they want, but they just, no matter what it is, it's not enough. They just, so I think that happens with movies too, and it's like, you know, there was all this gatekeeping stuff, but now in movies it's changed, and maybe this will happen with music, but with movies the gatekeepers are like moving back and opening the gates a little, and the problem with that is an influx of shit that's just pouring in, and like on certain platforms they're just letting it be on there, and stuff with like 1 star, and like stuff that should have never been seen by anyone, and I'm not talking bad good, I'm talking just bad.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's watering down a lot of stuff. And with horror, that's the problem, is that I think anyone can make a movie. And
there was a good one though recently. Nope.
Oh, Nope. That was really good.
Nope. Have you seen Nope?
No.
That's a good.
I don't want to give it away, but that was like, I didn't know going into it what to expect, because it's supposed to be like extraterrestrial kind of based, and a lot of those movies suck. So I wasn't really sure, like, you know, what was going to happen, but it actually ended up being a good movie. It was definitely creepy, but I'm really into, like, I love the kind of movies that are more like the supernatural thrillers that make you think, and it's more like, I guess, implied horror. You know, implied, like creepy, like stuff that makes you like, oh my god, I can't turn my lights off tonight because that shit's fucked up.
Well, okay, so I've always been a big video game person, and most like the more popular one would be Resident Evil, but for me it was always Silent Hill.
Oh yeah,
Silent Hill's great.
Like, and like Resident Evil's cool and everything, and like I keep up with like the story and everything, but like nothing about Resident Evil has ever touched Silent Hill to me, because
absolutely,
that right there is the psychological horror. It's the atmosphere of it. It's not blatantly in your face, you know, like zombie attack, you know. It's like
it's like an eerie effect, and you know it's there, and it's uneasy, and it makes you feel unhinged, and it's like you don't know why you feel unhinged, but it just doesn't feel right. And I think that's the aesthetic that I prefer. I think that visual even aspect of Silent Hill kills everything in terms of video games and movies. It's just like, it's just so beautifully done in a beautifully like scary way, you know. And you know, Resident Evil was fun. I had a good time playing those games, but the movies, I don't know, the movies were kind of cheesy. I do like the first one, it was okay. It's just Silent Hill for me was always more artistic.
Yeah, 100%. All of it.
And it also delved into that whole, like, you know, multiversal, like parallel universe kind of thing. And I think that's so cool how they did it, because it wasn't so blatant. You kind of didn't even realize it right away. You were like, that's what's going on, because you don't know right away. You're unsure for a lot of that between the game and the movie. Like, you don't really know what's going on, and then you find out, and when you realize that it has something to do with a parallel, that's when it's like starts to go, holy shit, and then it opens up like the door to anything happening, and that's creepy.
Yep, I love it. I love all of it so much.
And I think Stranger Things took from that, by the way.
Oh, big time.
Like, if you look at like that is, and just like the nuances of, like, you know, something's there, but you're not quite, because you don't really see the monsters in that till like, and then they're like really crazy. And I think it took a lot from that aesthetic and atmosphere. You know,
I agree. So. And Stranger Things, I think everyone would agree that it's so well done. You know, like, you care about all of the characters, even the side characters, and the storytelling element, and just all of it is just done so well, you know.
We've watched it 5 times already, so
They used the classic format. That's
they
why
did. They did.
Exactly.
they relied on character development over just trying to wow everybody with
jump scares and nonsense
and technology and all that.
Yeah, they use like well, that's one of the things that we talk about when we watch movies. We say, I don't, like, if they jump right into it and you don't know what's going on, I'm like, I don't care about these people.
Yeah, who are these people?
Why am I suddenly being thrust into their life? Like, tell me something about them, you know? And that's one thing that the older movies did, was they really kind of slowly creeped you into it. And I think Stranger Things took from that as well, the older stuff, that they, not so much as of a slow burn, because sometimes slow burns can be like, all right, come on, get to the fucking point.
Yeah.
But you slow burned it enough that you peel back the layers and it's like you want to know what's next, because you're like, whoa, this is really cool.
And you genuinely care about the characters.
Yeah, but with some of this newer stuff, I don't know.
Well, and as we've definitely seen the last like 10-15 years with streaming and everything, like, shows have become so important, you know, like we all still love movies and everything, but like with the show, you know, you can flesh out the story more. And
yeah. Have there been any shows that you actually like recently? I can't remember.
Oh wait.
No, but I mean, like,
as far as like scary stuff, or just
yeah,
like,
I can't think of anything that
not like that. No.
Yeah,
that's probably the ultimate show right now.
One of the weirder, more interesting shows, which I actually need to watch the second season, is the OA.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Show is
great.
So when you go into the second season, this is the disclaimer I give everyone, since I'm a huge fan of that show. It's gonna be different, but don't worry, it's not the whole thing. It comes back.
You have to make it through the first.
They made a little bit of a mistake with starting that one, in that it's almost like it's gonna be a totally different season with nothing about the same, you know, nothing the same from the first one. So you get thrown off and you go, what the fuck is this? These aren't the people I love and want to know what happened to them. It does go back to it all ties in. It just takes a few minutes, and it's a shame that they canceled that show because it was so good. And it makes me so sad.
Everything always gets canceled. Like some things go on way too long, and then the shows that need like more, even just like one more season, and it's like, we're done.
Yeah, just like a wrap up.
It would have been nice to have a third though, because they wrote 4 for that, and so they didn't get to tell the full story. And you can tell at the end, you're like, no, I need to know, and it's so upsetting. And so because of that, I stopped following new shows on Netflix, and in my silent boycott of them, just saying, you know what, if you're not gonna like give us everything, then I don't want to invest my time in these shows if you're not going to let us have more than 2 seasons.
Shows used to go like 15 seasons and people loved them.
I'm fine with 8 or 10. 2 is just ridiculous. I'm not a beta tester for Netflix. They need to start paying us if they want us to beta test.
How are they going to have an epic TV show if they don't let it go and flesh out? Like they cancel them before they've even started.
I don't think they care though.
No.
So
like, it didn't climax enough in the second season. It's like, what do you want?
But their marketing was really bad. Like, I didn't know about the OA until it was canceled. So like, maybe if they had marketed it better, people would have, and maybe they could have marketed it appropriately, because I don't think people even knew what the hell it was about, by the fact that they didn't even really market it appropriately. So nobody knew, and by the time you discover it, it's too late. So it's kind of like, that's their fault. They dropped the ball on that. And I don't know. I don't think I'd ever look to them for horror or anything. Right now we found some cool stuff on Tubi.
Tubi's been great. Yeah.
I haven't used Tubi yet.
It's free and it has pretty decent stuff, and they move things in and out enough that like it doesn't get stagnant, and they don't have any like originals. Or maybe they do, I don't know, but I hardly have seen any. If there are, I don't think that they do. The originals also killed Netflix, I think, because like,
well, then they stopped getting,
come on, let's see some of the old stuff. Yeah.
They started getting rid of their real content and started doing originals.
I'd love to see, like, you know, well, Shudder tried to do that with but they had such a limited amount of titles that it didn't justify like the price that they were trying to charge for it. But if it was like a 99-cent add-on, then it would be like, okay, cool. But we've tried a few of those add-ons, and there's some good ones. Screamflix, I think, was the other one. I think it was called.
Yeah.
They have a lot of old 80s and 90s and 70s and 60s horror films that obscure titles maybe you've never heard of, and you just like we'll do like, you know, random, we'll click on one. All right, what the fuck is this? Who cares? Let's just click it, you know. We give it 10 minutes. So that's how we've been kind of doing it.
Well, especially like on Netflix, because you know, like if you even hover over something for half a second, it's already starting and demoing everything. So if you skip around on there enough, you know, you'll come across certain things. And I've watched the first season of The Way, like when it was brand new. I think it was like early 2017 or like 2016, something like that. And it was just one of those things, like as soon as I read the description and if it sounds even mildly like different or unique or something, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And and like by the time I was done with it, I was like, never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, I think what got me on it was I saw the trailer and it was like she was in a hospital and something about death, and then she like they asked her who the president was. You know, they ask you that when they're not sure what your mindset is, and she like said the wrong president, but to her it was like, you know, because she was in the other universe, so it was kind of like that was what grabbed me, because I'm really heavily into quantum physics. It's like a passion of mine on the side, which I know sounds really boring, but I'm like really into like physics and science and particle physics, all that kind of stuff. I love that stuff. So like I'll sit and read like crazy books that I think most people wouldn't even open. And so I was already into the whole multiverse theory thing. And so to me it was like, whoa, somebody made a show about that? Like, wow, like let me check this out. And I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was just so genius. It was such a wonderful show. So cool.
And then they canceled after the second season.
And it did have a horror element to it too. It had a horror element to it. Like it was like, you know, there was scary. It was, some of it was like considered scary, I think, to some people anyway, watching it, you know, some of that stuff. So it was cool. It was a cool show. They ruined it. They canceled it. And that's that. I don't know.
Well, what have you guys been listening to lately?
Oh gosh, a lot, because we were doing this radio show. So,
and we've been doing a lot of guitar playing.
Oh gosh, yeah. So, Nick and I recently got a full endorsement with Dean Guitars, and we've been playing some guitars and testing them out. And Nick and I have the same disease. It's the music disease, where we will start playing and we won't stop. And the other day we had a friend over who was actually also an American Head Charge, and he came over and we all three of us did the harmonies of the first solo of Master of Puppets, and we sat there forever.
We looped it for like an hour.
And like, I feel like normal people would be like, all right, there's something wrong with them, because we just sat there and like we were like frozen in time.
We did a really great thing.
Yeah.
We decided to mount guitars like right off of our living room, so we're constantly staring at them.
So we have to play them.
So we have to play them every day.
There's no excuse.
And
so we are always learning something new.
And that's really been really great, because we're thinking of new stuff
every day,
and it like forces you to get in the game. So, and
I was always a rhythm player, so I never learned a lot of solos. I was all into like, you know, rhythm stuff. So I'm learning how to solo and shred now, which is so fucking cool. And I always wanted to do it. And so one of the songs that I liked, you know, growing up, I wasn't a huge Metallica fan, but I liked their guitars. I always liked the way that they played. And I did like a lot of their thrash and original stuff, earlier stuff rather, not the more modern.
Like the first four albums.
Yeah, that's like the first 4 albums. And so like, my favorite song until it became super popular with Stranger Things was Master of Puppets. That was always my favorite. Like I just always, when that came on, I would light up, you know. I always wanted to play it on guitar. Never learned it because it's just insane. And I actually can play almost all of it now, and I'm about to learn the solo now. And when we started, Nick was like, you know, he played it no problem. Like it was like butter on bread to him, you know. It's just like nothing. And I was like, how do you play that fast? I'll never be able to do that. And then I did it, and within a few weeks I can play it along just with like the big guys. And I'm really excited about it. And the solo is really cool.
And I'm having fun teaching how to play.
Yeah, he's having a good time. And I actually learned Crazy Train. I actually can play the solo, and I am so proud of myself because I fucking rock that fucking solo. And it is the hardest thing I've ever played. Because the song itself, it's fine. It's just the solo is intricate. Like Randy Rhoads was not fucking around. That guy had.
He's insane.
He took like what Eddie was doing, and then just like
put it on
turned
steroids.
it in its head. It's like because the finger and like all this stuff, like the scale, and it's just so intricate, and it changes so rapidly that I had to learn that before I could play Master of Puppets. Not because of the speed, but just because of like, if I can get through that, I could play anything, and I knew it. And so I forced myself to learn that solo. And if I can play that solo, then I can learn and move on to something that's going to be considered for me more advanced. And it worked, and I can do it. And now I'm like, now I can play anything. I'm unstoppable. So
it's actually been accelerating my guitar playing too, because I was a self-taught guitar player. So trying to figure out how to teach guitar and trying to break down these fast solos and trying to figure out how to teach that to somebody else is actually like skyrocketed my guitar playing too.
Yeah.
So we're both like learning in an accelerated way, which is really cool.
But I like that because when we're working in the studio on this new stuff, like
the guitar is going to be much more insane.
Yeah. And we're going to solo on that, and we're going to do all this crazy shit. And I'm so excited for it that now it's like, okay, now it's like on, you know, like.
we have some new guitars in the Dean custom shop right now.
Yes, they're being made for us.
They have kill switches installed.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
They have custom pickups put in, like the whole thing. They're just going to be a music creation machine.
And it's going to be so cool for this new EP because oh my gosh, I cannot wait to play on that. Just so excited. Like
you have a guitar battle on a song, just like
yeah, we will. Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna totally battle, and like
we kind of want to throw it back to some old thrash stuff. So,
and mix in a little industrial.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have like a kind of crazy idea right now.
Get some of that Master of Puppets and Randy Rhoads stuff, the classic stuff.
Bring some of those elements back in there, especially with, like you said earlier about the inorganic, like mumble rap stuff, like some of that stuff's cool, but like for the majority of it, I don't know what skills it requires to make any of that. This is like an intricate kind of throws back to classical guitar almost, and it's like, yeah, like I like to have those elements because that's something we were lacking before too. It was everything's basic, and now it's like us actually like doing the work, you know, and it's like cool, okay. But then incorporating, I really love industrial, so for me, like that's a big part of, I have to have that. So I think that's going to be in there, electronic stuff.
That'll always be there with me.
Yeah. But that to me,
I love making computer sounds.
Mixing things together like that though is so fun. And I think other people might know, oh, well, what is it? Because they ask you, what's your genre? You have to say metal or rock or something, that I don't really know what it is. I don't think we have a genre.
We just like to make stuff that sounds cool.
Yeah, if we like it, then it's whatever it is, I guess. But
exactly.
I don't really know. I don't think we know what it is. It's still growing.
I just think like the way I write a song is if I would listen to it, if somebody else wrote it and I would listen to it, then it's a good song.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't put that in my own CD player, then I scrapped the riff.
That's true. That's a really good point, because think about it, you know, like going back to like music you made when you were younger, and it's like you go and you put it, you're like, who the fuck would listen to this?
Yeah,
I wouldn't listen to this. What the hell is this? So you have to make sure that it's, you know, but we didn't consider that when we were a teenager or something. You don't think about stuff like that.
You're just excited that you can write music at that point.
And write about like fuck the system.
I made a sound on a recording program.
Yeah, so that is an important point. If you're okay, like if you hear this and it doesn't sound bad, then sure. But if it's not something you'd listen to, then maybe nobody else wants to hear it. I don't know.
Right. So some of my early stuff, is like, even though like I said it was cringy, it's like I still listen to it every now and then, you know, but like it was kind of one of those things. It was like more for me. Like I have it on Bandcamp and like it's out there, but like I never promote it. I never talk about it or anything. It's just kind of like it's there.
Yeah.
And my newer stuff. So like I've been working on 2 different albums simultaneously for like literally a decade now.
Wow.
And the first album is more like has a theme to it lyrically, and like it's like 90% done. It's just kind of sitting there. I haven't touched anything in over 2 years now.
Wow.
And then
so you're really doing the whole let it sit and see, come back to it.
Yeah,
and see
actually, yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing, I guess.
That's kind of cool though, because you know, then you can really pick it apart when you're ready to get back into it, and
yeah, for sure.
It even better. I don't know. I think it's good. Music should grow like that.
But don't fall into the labyrinth of constantly retooling, and so you never put it out either.
Yeah.
It's more just been like life, you know, like I just haven't really been in like the right mind frame, and
totally
everything's been too much going on. But like after I get moved and situated and all that, like I plan on at least getting the first one done as soon as I can.
Yeah.
I want to, like,
really great feeling finishing an album.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when we finished like Disclosure and we were able to like get it to the you know, to the platforms, the aggregator or whatever, like that was like
high five, time to take a nap.
Yeah, like holy shit, like we don't have to do anything for a minute at least. But you know, then came all the marketing stuff and I had to do all that. And luckily I have a background in a lot of like, you know, like I said, tech stuff, so I had some, you know, knowledge of some of it, but it could be better, but I did the best that I can. And I like rather do it this way than be on a label, because you know, I think I'm at a point in my life where I just don't want to be told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
With anything. I don't want to be told when to tour, where to go, who to do what with, what to write, how to sound. I think I had enough of being told what to do. And, you know, I'm cool with just like being what we are and like not having to like prove anything by having to be attached to something, an entity that's going to tell us to do something differently. Right now I'm in this mindset of just like, this is enough. And if, you know, I don't need to keep crawling up that success tree where you never really see how successful you are because you're always needing the next thing. I don't like that. So I kind of just am here floating, and this is what it is. And I think Nick is kind of in that same headspace too, right? Like we don't want to like.
Well, and with the internet these days, you don't really need a label. We can reach.
Well, the label
so many
a purpose. Like, okay, so we're definitely at a part where like we're standing in front of that gatekeeper eye to eye, and they're not opening the door because, you know, we're not playing the game. And so like the choice is, do you want to play the game? If you want to play the game, then we'll open the door a little bit and we'll let you peek in, but then you got to play the game a little more, and it just becomes like this thing where who needs that? And so yeah, there's going to be a level where we're not going to be able to go any further because of that, but I'm okay with that.
Once you enter the door, then they tell you what to do.
That's the thing.
So if you're not the type of person that wants to be told what to do, don't enter the door.
I'm not a performance dolphin. Like I don't want to jump through hoops and spin around. Like I just don't. I think at this point in my life, I don't think that's an option for me, and I think that that's okay. And so, yeah, that'll prevent us from probably doing some really big things, and that's okay. I don't need that. I think the music is just the music, and it's just, that's fine. It's enough, you know. And
we got 1 million people that listen to our YouTube, so
we have a following, and if it's just for them, that's more than enough. That's, to me, I'm grateful just for that, because I know that I just read a thing that said like 90% of people who put their music on Spotify have less than 50 listeners. So that right there put it into perspective for me. I was like, yeah, we don't have 1 million, and we also don't buy those fake listeners like a lot of people do, you know, the ones that say, thanks for listening to my music, 1 million people, you know, but then it's like they go online and only 2 people like it, so you know they don't have 1 million listeners, but they buy it, and that's fine if that's what they choose to do. I'm not making fun of it, but it's like we don't do that. It's organic. And so, you know, what we do have is, I think, way more than I ever thought I'd have, and the fact that we're above that 90% is a pretty cool hurdle to go over. So I'll take that. That's enough. I don't need any more than that.
The rest is a bonus.
Well, I think when Nick and I first started this thing and I agreed to do that song, I had a checklist. I said, okay, look, I want to put out a CD. I want a CD with my band's name on it. You know, I want to do a music video with my band's name on it. I want to sign to a label at one point. I want to play a show. I want to play a festival. I want to go on tour. I want to play with a bigger band. It was like a couple of things, you know, and I've done all of it already and more. So it's like there's nothing left to do but just make music now.
Yeah.
I don't care about
which is really what bands should be doing, is just focusing on making music. The rest of it comes naturally if you want it.
If you want it. We've turned down a couple offers. We've played around with labels for a little while. And then some of it was just like, you know, whatever, it just didn't work out. And I just realized like I don't need that.
No, you have to have fun making the music first and foremost.
The music and enjoying it, and there's so many other things that we do too. Like, we create a lot of like art and stuff, and so we're always like doing something fun. And so it's not like it's only music, because I think if it was only music, then it would be easy to like jerk us around by the ego and be like, okay, you know. But because we have so many other things happening, that it's kind of like that's just a part of our life, it's not the whole thing. So I think we get enough fulfillment too. Like, I mean, hell, just sitting here playing solos is like
that's actually the most fun I've had since like high school.
If you want to scratch an itch with
actually playing music,
sit around and learn a really hard song, and that'll scratch the itch. You know? So it's kind of like,
I spent so long on the road touring with bands and doing all that I never got to really sit around and just learn other people's music and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, that is so fun right now.
And rediscovering other people's music, because one of the things people ask is like, when you're writing an album, like, what are you listening to right now? I'm like, nothing. Does the plumber go home and play with pipes? No, like you put it down and you go home and you have a beer and watch a movie. Like when you're a musician, like, and that's part of your career, you don't sit home and listen to music, you're making music. And so the two don't go together. And now that we had a little break in between, it was like, and we can do the radio show and all that, it's kind of fun to rediscover like music that we loved, you know, in the past. And
you get to be a fan again, you know.
Or
be a fan, get re-inspired. Yeah, it's awesome.
You know, like just rediscovering songs that I forgot about, and like just going, oh my god, this is such a good song, and just sitting back and just letting it like take you over. Because for me, music for me is so like, it's more than just listening. It has like, you know, it just gets into you. I don't know, it takes over. It's like almost like, it reminds me of like a trance, you know. And it's like you get one of those songs and it's just so cool. That's been fun to do again, because we kind of didn't do that for a while. And outside of some classical
it's a lot of work running a band behind the scenes. So to be able to actually make it fun again breathes new life into everything.
And I think that also the fact that a lot of it's just on Nick and I, because our band is just he and I, unless we're on tour, then we have people that play with us. We had Ted from American Head Charge, Ted Hollows. We had Mike Depke, who's currently in Wednesday 13. He's our drummer.
He's done stuff with Wasp. John Mellencamp.
He played with Dee Snider. He plays with a lot of different people, but he's really cool because he's always down to go and play a show or go on a tour, so we can usually get him back there, and he's a fantastic drummer. And
amazing.
We have different people in and out, but it's like so cool that way. Yet when it comes down to the other stuff, it's like Nick and I are the band, and so we have to do all the stuff.
You got to do all the work stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Now, Nick, when you were in the Dreaming and Powerman, was that, what was it, a band effort, or was it really just like Spider kind of doing everything like what you guys are talking about?
So Spider and I sat down and wrote Builders of the Future. So he did it depends on with Spider. Like sometimes he'll let somebody write on the album, sometimes he wants to do it himself. I got lucky. So with the Dreaming, I never actually wrote an album with them, so I just did touring with them. But I did work with Chris a lot on our live show, programming lights, doing all the work aspect with him. I spent a couple years.
Well, you programmed all the Powerman stuff.
Yeah,
too.
so
Nick was like the lights guy, like for that band. Like
I did a lot in the
everything
band.
came with him, and so when he got to Hail Sagan, it was the same thing. It all transferred over,
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool.
Yeah, I could tell the stage show changed just a little bit when Nick wasn't there anymore.
When Nick came to Hail Sagan full time, and it was
And
like,
I'm not complaining at all
no, not
because
at
they're
all.
still great live and everything. It's just, you know,
So
like
cool. Even, I think even a band just up there with an acoustic guitar can be cool. We just kind of went all out because Nick has that background, so he was able to jump right into it and program everything. And so it was kind of like, that it was his stuff, and it was his lights, and it was his knowledge. So
Yeah.
it just translated over to us.
So I think that helped me in Powerman because I kind of know how to do a lot of stuff with just from growing up playing in bands and doing it all
Yeah,
myself.
he's very
And I think
creative.
that when Spider saw that he knew like the value of what I could offer.
Yeah, Nick is really
And
skilled in so many ways too, just like building stage props, stage things, truss, like whatever. Like Nick has the all around ability, and so it's like kind of cool that you don't need like 10 different people when Nick can do all that. Just a heads up, guys, there's like 3 minutes left, so
yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're wrapping up. So
yeah. But I think that I mean I thought it was really cool because I didn't know that we were going to even do any of that when we first started. So when our first show, like all the lights and stuff it was pretty awesome.
And I think with the Hail Sagan show, I think our light show has far surpassed the Powerman stuff that you saw.
Oh yeah, we did some wild
We
stuff.
have a lot of crazy stuff. We have snow. We have crazy bubbles.
But the lights themselves, we had grown like from what we started with.
Oh
and
yeah,
we just like added on so much
I've
stuff.
become far more advanced now.
But now I
lighting.
want to like go backwards, and I feel like if we do go back, I might want to do a little more of a scaled down thing, maybe even if it's just like one show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still throwing around ideas. Because if we do anything, it would start in Vegas probably. So I got to figure out, the logistics of all that, but it would be something, in between the two.
it's kind of surprising I haven't been able to see you guys live yet.
Yeah, we played. You said you were in Vegas earlier, right? We played.
Yeah, I'm in Vegas.
We headlined the Hard Rock a few years ago, and then we played the Beauty Bar a few times.
Yeah, Beauty Bar was great.
That was a fun venue.
The last time we did Beauty Bar, Vinnie Paul came out.
Yeah, he came to our show. He said he discovered us on YouTube, and he was like, "You guys do all it yourself?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he couldn't believe it, and he invited us to hang out afterwards. It was fun. It was really nice to get to know him. Yeah.
Yeah, but Vinny, he was a big part of the local scene here. He'd come and just hang out.
Yep,
and,
he was really cool.
That definitely wasn't like a big rock star kind of guy,
No, he was just like a really cool regular guy, and in the fact that even just like talking to him, he just sounded like a regular person. He was so cool. So that was a big loss.
Absolutely. It's hard to believe it's already been over 5 years.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know.
Time flies.
Guys, I guess we'll go ahead and end it here. But I think we still have plenty more we could talk about in the future. So
oh yeah, anytime, man.
We'll
and good luck to you on your move too. I hope it all goes well and enjoy your new home.
I appreciate it. Go on somewhere new. Go to the East Coast. Check that out.
Yep.
Keep life going. Keep it interesting.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I will let you know when everything is ready, and it should probably have it up by tomorrow. Honestly,
Very cool.
I have my editing down pat, so it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you for your time, of course, and I appreciate talking to you. And
no problem.
Hope to see you sooner than later. It's been quite a while already now since I last saw you. So
yeah, we should be doing some more stuff pretty soon. So
all right, guys.
Cool,
take care. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
See you later.
See ya.